Just pass out the glasses because that'll be the easiest. So what we're doing here today is not rocket science. Should not be intimidating, even though I understand that it is to most people. We are just talking about wine, which is just fermented grape juice. You see all these shows, all these now movies are coming out, Somm and all that kind of stuff, all these magazines that make it sound like it's like a PhD to understand this stuff. And so what I'm here to do is sort of bring it down a little bit and make you guys understand that you don't need a PhD for this kind of stuff. You just need to know some basic tools in order to sell. And that's what we're here to do. They don't bring me down. They don't bring you in just so we can have a good time and drink, even though if that happens, so be it. What is important is to sell wine while you're here. Why? There's two reasons. One, for the house. Wine is an incredible revenue generator. One that if they didn't have, the place probably wouldn't exist. So, and I'm throwing alcohol in that too. Imagine if you guys didn't sell alcohol. What would it look like?
A Cracker Barrel.
That's fun. Your check average would stink. They wouldn't make nearly the kind of money. It probably wouldn't exist as it is. So you need to sell this. They need you to sell this. And if they're smart, they watch who sells, who can sell it, who can't. That's their end. Selfishly, why do you guys have to sell? Make money. You're here. Like you are here at a specified time for a specific amount of time. Your job is to maximize your earnings for that time. I mean, when I was a server, I used to, I never understood it, but I was greedy. So I just want to make as much money as I could. And we had people that didn't want to be on the floor. They'd be like, oh, I don't feel like talking to people, whatever. And they'd work out deals where they would do all my side work if I just took their table, especially the last hour or two of the night. Which never made sense, but okay, I have 10 tables. But the thing is, they bust my food and they do the side work and I make the money. You're there for a certain amount of time, maximize your earnings. And that is what wine and in turn alcohol can do. It's all about check average. Do you make your own tips? Do you pull your tips? How do you do it?
Make our own tips.
Even better. So you are an entrepreneur. You are making your own money at your table. For those of you that think serving at a restaurant is an order-taking job, you're making less than a lot of people in this room. It is not an order-taking. Those of you that go up to a table and say, "What can I get you?" You're making less than the person that sells. And so selfishly, a bottle of wine on the table, alcohol in front of everybody will raise that check average. And in theory, we always have those jackasses out there. In theory, sorry, I don't want to say that on camera. In theory, higher check average, higher tips. So if you can make check average 10 to 20% higher every table than you previously did, your earnings go up for the same time worked. So even if you don't care about these guys, which I sure hope you do, you care about yourself and care about your time and want to make money. So how do we do that? We give you some tools in order to sell this wine. Now, you are an easy place to sell wine, or beer, or liquor. You're here. People are ready to have a good time. They're open for suggestions. So, there is one single, non-arguable, completely effective way to increase your wine sales. It's very simple. It requires, I think, no knowledge at all. And you will increase your sales minimum 20 to 40% if you don't already do it. Have an idea what that might be? What do you think?
Tell them about the wine.
What?
Suggest themselves.
Talk about it. Mention it. Say it. It doesn't have to be anything in depth. Literally, when they sit down, does the hostess give them the menu, or do you give them the menu?
Hostess.
So they will already have the wine list when they sit down. Easy. So you walk over the table, point out the list, mention it, direct their attention to it. That alone will increase your sales, like that. They're already in the mindset of fun. Say, oh, I noticed you have our list today, our wine list today. Look, we put some new wines on there. We have some fantastic wines. If you have any questions, please let me know. You said nothing. You said nothing that requires a PhD or years of study, but you directed their attention to it. And I guarantee, well, it happened to every table? No, but I guarantee some tables will go, you know what? I haven't had a Pinot Grigio in a while. I was like, ooh, I like this specific one or something like that. I'm going to get it. And then somebody else table, but you know what? I think I'll have one too. I mean, we all know what's one of the worst tables to have.
Water.
I'll have 4 waters. Like, that's one of the worst. Because they're wasting your space. I mean, you got to treat them the same, don't get me wrong. But it's hard to maximize the revenue of a table because if they're getting water, they're getting salads and other stuff too. So, here's an interesting thing about restaurants, and I know these guys know it. I lump selling wine, it's almost the same thing as selling appetizers and desserts. These are upsells. These are things that people maybe normally don't expect to buy when they walk into a restaurant. Everybody that comes into a restaurant is going to buy an entree of some sort. But what you need to upsell, which is why I'm sure they hit you on it a lot, and if you've worked at other restaurants, they do the same thing. Appetizers and desserts also. So I tend to lump those in when I'm talking about this too. I guarantee if John was to make a graph, a chart in the kitchen of every one of your names, and then wine sales, appetizer sales, dessert sales, you would see specific people way up here, you'd see specific people way down here. And you can argue, well, I got a bad section, or I never worked the right sections. You will see it specifically throughout the year, the same people. And I guarantee it's because, what did we just say to sell wine? Mention it. Those people do it with appetizers and those people do it with dessert. Quick story, me and my wife go to a restaurant, we will spend money. We go out, especially with the kids, we go out. We will get wine, we will get appetizers, we'll get entrees, but we will never ever get dessert. And we'll be happy, it won't matter. So if we sit there and they come, can I get you anything else? We'll be like, no, this is great, just bring us the check. And if they go and bring us the check, we tip them great. We had an awesome time when we got. But if they come back to the table and we say, you were ready, we're done. Okay, you want some dessert? No, we always say no. If they say anything that contains the word chocolate, we're getting dessert for the most part. So if they say, you sure you don't want to see it? Here's our menu. Take a look at it. That alone. Usually, because if we look on it and there's a death by chocolate or something ridiculously chocolate or maybe creme brulee for her, almost 100% of the time, we will then get the dessert. We were perfectly happy not, but all they did was mention it and point out and we get it. I guarantee there's a lot of customers like that. Wine is no different. So when you walk to the table, I don't give you an outline of what to say because I always find if somebody has an outline, they get nervous because they don't want to go off script. So I don't like to have a script. I like to make up your own thing. These all require no knowledge. Again, just point out the menu and say, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. But we really have some nice wines on there. Some of them are so popular, especially in point out one or something. That's it. That's it. And then a discussion will start. Now, remember this. How much?
Just not to interrupt
No,
you, but
please.
just to carry on what you started before. At the end of the night, the difference between the sellers and the order takers is easily $400 a person. You'd be from the low end at $800 or $900 in sales for the night to the top end at $1,500 or $1,600.
Which is,
and that's this time of year before we get in season where our sellers are selling $2,000.
so you're talking almost $80 in tips.
Easily.
Shh. Guys, that's the same hours. You're not working extra hours for that. Like, most people to make more money have to work extra hours. You're not. You're working the same amount. And I got to tell you, sometimes with wine, you work less. Because if they have a bottle or glasses at the table, do you do frozen drinks? Mm-hmm. Okay. The amount of time you come to the table and they want 2 frozen drinks, you know you're waiting a while. Or no matter how many times you say, does anybody want anything else? And they go, no. You come back with somebody's drink and somebody goes, you know what? Now that I think of it, I'll take one of those. And you're running right back and forth. Wine tends to not do that as much, especially a bottle, but even glasses, it's not as much. So $80 more in tips, plus a little less stress. You're crazy if you don't. So simple as just mentioning it and talking about it. Now you may say, well, what if they ask me questions? And I don't know what to say. How much time are you at the table to discuss everything you need to discuss with them? A minute? I mean, you don't have time, especially in the season, you don't have time to really talk. So one of the biggest fears people have is they're going to start questioning them on wine that they don't know what kind of barrels it is, what's the soil type like, all that. All right, number one, they won't. They won't. I mean, 99.9% of the time, they're not going to do it. They're not into discussing it with you. and you have about 30 seconds at the most to maybe talk wine. So what we go over today is what you're going to need for that 30 seconds. If somebody stumps you, if somebody really, really gets you a thing, it happens to me too. You know what I say? I say, that's a really good question. Go grab one of these guys. And they might not have an answer too, but they come up to the table and say, wow, that was a great question. But and they feel good
They
about
don't
it.
question my answer, it may not be.
It may not be up. Yeah. Me and you got that gift going on. So what I'm going to do today is quickly show you. Now, what I have found is that in basic wine selling, there are just some basic grapes, basic types of wine that sell. That will be 90% of your sales. So we're not going to do a training right now of all the weird stuff. We're going to do the basic stuff that sells the most. And I want you to understand why people would buy these wines. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare and contrast. It's the best way to learn. It's the best way for your brain to actually take things in, is to be interactive and actually compare and contrast right at the time. So what we're going to learn today is why would somebody get a Pinot Grigio over a Chardonnay, or vice versa? What is the difference? And we're going to throw Sauvignon Blanc in there too, because these are the three most popular of the white grape varieties. These are what you're going to sell the most of. If somebody asks you, hey, what do you know about Verdeo? If you say, I don't know, it's acceptable. If they say, what do you know about Chardonnay? And you say, oh, what is that? Okay, that's not as acceptable. So we're going to learn the main grapes here. And I want you guys, in your own brain, to understand the difference, not from what I tell you. So what we're going to do is pass this around. Just pass it around. Just pass it around and give yourself a little bit. It's going to make the whole room. And so what I have found is that if you understand the basic differences of the grape varietals, if you've all worked at restaurants before, wine lists change all the time. And it's very difficult knowing all the different wines. But what isn't difficult in knowing are the grapes. Chardonnay has specific characteristics. Pinot Grigio has specific characteristics. Once you know what they are and how they compare to each other, he could change the list 20 times, and you're still going to have those basic differences. And to me, I think that makes it easier on you guys, because it doesn't matter what name is in front of Pinot Grigio, you know it's going to be like this. And it doesn't matter what name's in front of the Chardonnay, you know it's going to be like this, at least in comparison to each other. So that's what I'm trying to get to you today. So does everybody have the Pinot Grigio? Okay. Now, smell it and take a sip. We're not going to go through the whole ABCs of tasting, but a little warmer because it came over on the ferry. Okay, now, there are two ways to describe wine. There is the way sommeliers and wine snobs and the Wine Spectator and all those people describe wine. And there is the way normal people describe wine. Who are most of your customers? Normal people. So this is how you're going to talk to the normal people. If you had a room full of sommeliers and Wine Spectator people, we'll talk that way. But since you are not, I can pretty much guarantee it, you're going to have normal people here. You're going to use your own words. So, how would you describe this one? Because I know you all can, because you all are experts in your own taste. Bitter, okay.
I think it's dry.
Dry,
It's got a fair amount of fruit for something.
Fruit?
For a Pinot Grigio, I mean, it's
What?
Sweet.
okay. Sweet,
Little fruit
okay.
forward,
Fruit forward, okay. See, now here's the thing. None of you can be wrong. It's what you taste. And a lot of tastes depend on experience. However, is it heavy or is it lighter? Lighter. That's a huge thing. That's one of the things you're going to get from people. And the questions we're going to answer today will allow you to talk to people about wine when they say, what do you suggest? Or you'll start saying, would you like red or white? Do you like sweet or dry? Do you like something light or something a little more bold? That's the real person's questions. And that's what we're going to answer today. So you've just told me this is on the lighter side, which it is. And most of you said it's sweet. Now, here's an interesting thing about wine. Wine has can or cannot have residual sugar, and that makes it sweet or dry. One of the neat things about wine is that even if it's dry, it could have a sort of a sweetness to it because of all the fruitiness. Now, this wine is considered dry. It's got a little more residual sugar than some Pinot Grigio, especially maybe from Italy. That's why people love it. So it is, you could say sweet, but it's not really sweet. If we put White Zinfandel or Riesling or Moscato next to this, you would know sweet. So this is still dry. So if somebody wants a dry wine, this is still in the dry realm. But you see how fruity it is. Is it easy drinking or very hot, rough? Easy drinking. Refreshing or cloying? Refreshing. So what we have here is a kind of a light, easy drinking, refreshing wine. Well, guess what? You've just described Pinot Grigio. You have just described Pinot Grigio. I don't care what it is. Some are heavier than others, some are lighter than others, but for the most part, I have a hierarchy of wine, which I call it white and red. Pinot Grigio, out of the major grapes, is on the bottom. Simple, inoffensive, light, easy, refreshing. And I'm not criticizing when I say inoffensive. There are some fantastic Pinot Grigios out there. But it is one of the easiest drinking wines out there. So it's right here on the bottom. What do you think is on the top? Chardonnay. So, and this is what I want you to do. As we go through this, I want you guys to really pay attention to the differences of these wines, because I'm trying to make you comfortable with any questions you may get. And the questions you may get are all going to pertain to what we're doing right now. It's 100 degrees out. What would you suggest? You know what? I suggest something light and refreshing, like our Pinot Grigio. Boom. Again, you didn't say anything that you had to know a lot about except for what you learned here. So, Chardonnay. So what I want you to do here is just what we did with the Pinot Grigio. Now, I want you to do smell it a little bit more, okay? Because you can probably tell the difference, right, or you should be able to tell the difference right away. And then I want you to taste it. And in your mind, I want you to compare it to the last one that you just had. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions. Oh, no. I still have PG in my glass. All right. Okay.
One other thing, though, like, for pouring, don't hold the bottle. Try and hold it at least in the middle if you're not comfortable down here.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of the so-called experts will hold it like this, but guys, you don't.
No.
Number one rule: don't spill the bottle on people.
Yeah. This way, hold it in the middle, and you got a good balance for it. Just not at the like this.
Okay, so did everybody smell it? You notice the difference right away? And then take a sip. Now, for those of you, and this will be more pertaining to the reds, for those of you that don't really like any of the wines, especially since you might just not like wine, you have to understand that needs to be irrelevant. Now, it helps to like it because you can passionately talk about it. But
you're done.
Yeah, believe me, if a customer asks about a wine, you say, "Oh God, I hate wine. That's terrible to me, but I think you'll like it." Is not a selling point. You know, you might as well not really be on the floor. So you have to use things like either just flat out lie, "I love it," or even better, well, you can say what John just said, "Look, I had this wine the other night. It is absolutely fantastic. You will love it." Or this is one of our customers' most favorite wines. People sometimes, if they're on the fence, they just need a little push.
Yeah.
Just a little push to justify their purchase. So come up with something like this. "Oh, this is one of my favorite wines. You're gonna love it. This is the most popular wine I sell. Oh, this is the best wine we have to go with our fish," or whatever. Something that makes the person happy that they chose it. Make them feel good. Pat them on the back, and just push them over the edge a little bit. And if you don't like the wine, tough. Just your job is to sell the wine. These are actually all good wines. They really are. But taste is personal, and if you don't like it, you still need to sell it. So how would you describe this one? Okay?
Not much.
What's that?
A lot of butter.
Okay, oaky butter. Okay. Very light or kind of bigger in terms of white wine?
It's bigger, but it's not that.
No,
It's not a total.
compared to the last one.
It's definitely bigger.
Yeah, we're comparing to the last one is what we're doing. Okay, so we got a wine that is oakier, which is that wood flavor. You get buttery, which sometimes you say butter or creamy. It's that mouthfeel that is not as refreshing as, say, something very crisp. It's a little rich in your mouth. Dry or sweet? It is dry. It is dry. A lot of fruit, but it's still dry. So, what you have now hit is the other end of the spectrum. Now, white wines are still white wines. They're still going to relatively streamline of perfection, out of a refreshing quality in there, but they're still going to be bigger and lighter. So Pinot Grigio, light, easy, refreshing, always, for the most part. Chardonnay will be at the top. So if somebody comes to the table and says, one of the questions you always could ask somebody if they're like, we're thinking of wine, what would you recommend? Can you answer that question without asking another question?
No.
Yes.
It's hard. You can, but I guarantee you're probably going to have to ask another question. It's like somebody says, what food do you recommend? Well, okay, I recommend this steak. Well, I'm vegetarian. Okay, wait. So what you can say to narrow stuff down, because you don't have all day. But what would you recommend? Say, well, do you normally prefer white or red? Do you normally prefer sweet or dry? Or what do you normally drink? Those three questions are the most powerful questions because their answer will shrink the list for you. You don't have to know the whole list. If they say, well, I tend to like reds, reds, all right, do you want kind of a nice, big, hearty red, or do you want something a little more easy drinking? That's it. Whatever the answer there, you got an answer. Sweet or dry is easy. If they say sweet, Riesling, Moscato, White Zin, whatever, you just go there. White wine, same thing. You go that same route. And sometimes you have to narrow somebody down because otherwise, how do you know what to give them? So you got to ask questions like that. And they're very easy, innocuous questions. This one, can you see where a Pinot Grigio lover might not like the Chardonnay? Could you see that? I could. Could you see where a Chardonnay lover might not like a Pinot Grigio? So if Franciscan changes one day to Lincourt Chardonnay, and then changes one day to Charles Krug Chardonnay, guess what? It's still going to be the similar flavor profile compared to a Pinot Grigio, regardless. So what I'm trying to do is not have you guys worry about the name of the winery. I want you to understand Chardonnay versus Pinot Grigio. Boom, and you got it. All right, now the last one of the big sellers. And I do this one after the two because it's so unique. So you have Pinot Grigio here and Chardonnay here. They're the bookends. For the most part, they are the bookends. If you have one in the middle, it's going to be Sauvignon Blanc. Now the unique part about Sauvignon Blanc is there's two really different flavor profiles of Sauvignon Blanc. And maybe one day in the future, just pop the other one open and taste it. I don't want to go through too many wines here. But this is, called Chasing Venus. You guys have actually done a great job with this for a while. This is a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. And regionality is somewhat important in wine. Both the wines you had before were California. Okay. By the way, Pinot Grigio was simply naked. The Chardonnay was Franciscan from Napa Valley. This wine right here is called Chasing Venus from New Zealand. New Zealand makes one of the most distinct wines you will ever have. And I don't care if you're the biggest beginner, you can pick out this wine. Can you grab that bottle? I keep forgetting myself. So everybody smell it. To me, it's like just bam. All right, not even close to the other two, is it? Not even close. What do you get? Grapefruit.
Grass.
Exactly. So this is one of the most flavorful wines you will ever have. Now, keep in mind, flavor is neither good nor bad. When somebody says something's flavorful, it's not a judgment. It's a lot of flavor. You got it. It's a love it or hate it kind of wine. I tend to like this style of wine. But I like to pour it because I want to show you guys another white wine that's out there. That's completely different than the two you had. That's completely unique, but it's one of the most popular in the world. So even if you don't like it, you have to understand. And honestly, on a hot day,
This is great.
thing is fantastic. It is so amazingly refreshing. That is a Sauvignon Blanc. Now, I'll give him a bottle of wine one time. You have a J. Lohr, I think Flume's Crossing, as your other wine. That is from California. Completely different flavor profile. So, whereas Chardonnay and Pinot Grigio, I kind of said, for the most part, you've got the flavor in your head. This is a little different than the other Sauvignon Blanc. This is that other one is more grassy, more fruity, but it doesn't have that grapefruit raciness going on. It still has some grassiness to it, but it's combined with grapefruit. But this is so unique, I'd like you to try it because this could be your easiest selling wine. And this could be a wine that is something you suggest. When somebody says, well, I like white wines, but I want something fun. Oh, we got this Chasing Venus New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. It's my favorite. I guarantee if they phrase a question like that, they'll like this style of wine. Chardonnay lovers don't usually say I want something fun. But this kind of wine. So real quick, because we can't do a 3-hour or even a 2-hour training, because it wouldn't be good for any of us. You have just tried the 3 most popular of the grape varieties: Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay. I hope in your mind, again, all we're doing is basic, you have an idea of the differences of all 3 of them, because they are quite different. And a well thought out list, a smart list, is chosen on differences. You don't want 3 Chardonnays that taste the same. That's just dumb. You want 3 Chardonnays. So, just to give you a little, does anybody have questions on the wines that we had and the differences between them? Do you think you sort of got just the simple thing? If somebody had a question on Pinot Grigio versus Chardonnay, do you think you could answer? And by the way, for those of you who don't know, I'm getting a little simplistic here too, but you need to know. If I walk up to a vine, an actual grapevine, and pick off the grape, that grape can be called Sauvignon Blanc or Chardonnay or Pinot Grigio. So these wines are named after the grape itself. Okay. Before I move on to the reds, just real quickly, I told you there's 2 Sauvignon Blancs and they're very different. There's also your 2 by the glass Chardonnays, Domaine de Bernier, if I'm not mistaken, and Franciscan. And Domaine de Bernier is French, so you're not going to have
Very
that.
different.
You're not going to have that oaky style. You're going to have a very clean, crisp style, and that's good to know. Again, that's sort of another training, and if I come back, we'll do that. But that's good to know, because if somebody doesn't want a big oaky Chardonnay, but they don't want a light thing either, that's kind of the best of both worlds.
We've actually got 3. One's a heavier oak, one's lighter oak, and then
Okay, that's perfect.
the French.
And that's what I'm telling you. A well thought out list has different choices. Don't have the same choice. That makes no sense whatsoever. So what you need to know is just the basic differences. But it's hard to go over that until you guys know the basic differences of grapes, and that's kind of why I'm starting right here.
But that French is oak, right?
Yes.
All states.
Well, you know, it's funny. That French actually has 8% oak, but even online it says basically on oak.
So it's like French oak then, it stands still.
Well, it's French oak that has no oak. That's old. So it is really on oak. So you're going to get kind of a Chardonnay body, but it'll be very crisp and clean without the oak. So it's really a cool alternative to that. I know it's a lot of information I'm shoving in there. Does anybody have any questions on these white wines? Quick word about food and wine pairings. I'm paid to think way more deeply about this than most people should. My biggest thing in wine and food pairings is, look, if you like the food and you like the wine, you're good. Okay? I mean, customer says, I want this done. I don't like red wines. Where you suggest, don't say, oh, you don't have a red wine with this meat. If you like the food and wine, you're going to be good. Okay? That's number one. I don't like to get too crazy with food pairings. However, there are reasons classic pairings exist. There are reasons you have wine dinners and wine and food pairings, and you don't have milk dinners and water dinners and soda dinners. Those things don't go with food very well, or that doesn't really matter. But wine is unique in the fact that wine makes the food taste better. Food makes the wine taste better. The combination makes for a better dining experience. Now, if I'm a restaurant owner and I had a revenue generator that actually increased dining experience, you better damn well think I'd try to push that. Because if they're making my food taste better and they're making my customer happier, that is something you want everybody partaking in. And what usually happens to a happier customer anyway? So they walk out of here thanking these guys, we'll be back, this is great. They do the cheapest advertising in the world, word of mouth, and then they come back and they hopefully show their appreciation as a tip on the table. So they drink waters, I guarantee you, as happy as they may be, they're not as happy as if they had glasses of wine. And the water, believe me, did not enhance the food like wine would. So, the whole white wine, seafood, red wine, meat thing, yes, that's classic, that's true. It does help. But I get more into body. Sometimes somebody doesn't want red wine, yet they want a steak. Steak is big and rich. So if they wanted a white wine because they just didn't want a red, by using the logic that a steak is rich, what white wine could you serve with it? Chardonnay. Because it's big and rich, and it has that oakiness which is sort of mimics smokiness of a grill. If somebody has a fish dip, you tell me what happened. Why did that happen? This is a good Pinot Noir. Linkwork.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
When we got this a few years ago, I was so happy because for the price, holy smoke. It's really probably the best Pinot Noir I have in this range. All right, for those of you who have it, take a smell, take a swig. I can smell Pinot Noir all day. All right, everybody take a sip. Why after this movie came out, did we suddenly sell out of all Pinot Noirs? Theories.
It's good.
It's
That's the easiest one. That's honestly the best answer you could get. Before the movie came out, nobody knew what the heck Pinot Noir was. It's sort of a pricier one. So if you go to the store and say $6, you try something new, Cabernet, Shiraz, $6, you're going to get something that's drinkable. You get a $6 Pinot Noir off the shelf. You're going to take one sip and go, I hate Pinot Noir. That's it. So it never took off. So when the movie came out, it extols the virtues of Pinot Noir. People tried it a little more. What's that? It's called Sideways. It was an Academy Award nominee about 2001 or so.
10 years ago, maybe?
10 years ago, yeah, 2006, something like that.
Give or take.
And so people started trying Pinot Noir. And why, after everybody tried Pinot Noir, other than that it's good, why do you think it took off after everybody finally tried it?
It's smooth.
It's a good one.
I think the movie explained how you need to drink it.
Well, if
Or
you
choose it rather.
if you took a sip of it and decided to buy more, why would that be?
it was really
Liked it.
Yeah, it's the easiest drinking red out there.
Yeah.
It is so easy to drink. It's light, yet with big red flavor. The tannins, and when I say tannins, I mean that sort of bitter quality that you find in Cabernet. It goes down so smoothly that what you had is a lot of white wine drinkers that really wanted to like reds, but they didn't like Cabs, like not even Merlots. They took a sip of this and said, wait a minute, I can like reds. Then you had a lot of big red wine drinkers say with their wives who wanted this lighter red, take a sip and go, wait a minute, I still like this. Because it's really elegant and beautiful and flavorful, and it goes down smoothly. So what you had is the white wine drinkers, the non-drinkers, the red wine drinkers, all liking this wine because it's beautifully elegant. And that's why it took off. And so Pinot Noir is, since then, one of the most popular wines. It is probably the most versatile wine with food. If you guys sitting at this table and you got a vegetarian dish, and you got fish, and you got steak, and you got pork, and you got pasta, and somebody said, I want one wine, I would say Pinot Noir. One wine. And you guys tasted it. Can you see that? It is the best red wine with fish. But that's why it is a very drinkable, smooth, elegant wine. That to me is kind of on the bottom of all the main grapes you're going to deal with. That is on the bottom spectrum of red wines. Now, what we're going to do is try the top of the spectrum. For those of you that don't like wine at all, and especially don't like red wine, I apologize. This is where I sort of get a weird pleasure in watching everybody's faces when they take a sip. Now, I know me and John here, this is our kind of wine, but this is Cabernet Sauvignon. And by the way, afterwards we're going to go over the pronunciations a little bit of this stuff too. So what you tried was Pinot Noir. And now we're going to try Cabernet Sauvignon. And again, just like the whites, I want everybody to compare and contrast. I want you to say, okay, how is this different than the one I just had? Should be pretty obvious. I always forget how smooth that wine is. I don't know how they do it. I mean,
It's an amazing price point.
yeah, that's what I say. I don't know how they do it. Probably if it was $20, like okay, but I just don't know how they do it at that price point. Because the elegance of that wine with the flavor, it's not light, but it's perfect. And honestly, as we were speaking before, that's what you want to buy the glass for the most part. Okay. Splash. Yeah, yeah.
And Mr. Johnson.
Well, I will tell you, in terms of a lot of Cabernets, this is way smoother than a lot of Cabernets. But, all right, everybody take a sip.
And this is one of the wines that, if you go through the list that I give, the wine tasting notes, there's good stories, and people love to hear stories about things. So,
never
you know,
get a
pick up a
list.
couple of those little stories in the tasting notes and have them on hand.
No, this is awesome. Yeah, this is a smart thing, by the way, to always have behind the bar. Is this kind of thing right here. And all right, everybody try it. Describe.
Smooth.
It is smooth. It's true. But describe it even further. Compared to the last one.
Dry.
It's a little, it's more
Bitter.
bitter, thicker.
Bitter is perfect,
Yeah,
actually.
Much longer finish.
Okay, Cabernet Sauvignon. Look, Cabernet is the wine lover's wine. Cabernet is the wine you can get the most money for. Cabernet is the one that somebody wants to show off. Somebody's used to drinking their wine. This is the one they want. This is the godfather of, especially California, the godfather of the wines. It's also one of the most difficult wines to like if you're not that into red wines, because of the boldness, the heaviness, the tannins. Not that this is a light wine, but this is a very smooth Cabernet. Honestly speaking, many of this price point aren't this smooth. This is really a cool thing to be pouring. It's by Goldschmidt Vineyard. Nick Goldschmidt is a famous winemaker.
Quick,
Yeah.
when you taste it, the dryness that your tongue feels, when you talk about tannins, that's what the tannins are, so those of you who don't know. But once you sip it, your tongue starts to feel dry, and that's the tannins coming out. And the bigger a Cabernet is, the more dry your tongue is going to
Exactly. The tannins come from, it's a chemical compound. It comes from.
It's almost like it sticks
It-
inside of your mouth.
Coating.
Yes.
You know what else has tannins? Tea.
Mhm.
You ever drink tea and it's kind of got that bitterness to it? It's not in as beautiful package as this, but it is. It dries everything out. It's kind of that harsh. It can be harsh or it can be beautiful. It depends how the winemaker kind of makes the wine. But the tannins come from the barrels. They come from the seeds, the stems, the skins, and part of a winemaker's job is to manage the tannins and the fruit of the wine. When you hear a wine is well balanced, it's because the fruit and the tannins are balanced in a kind of synergy, perfect package. If it's too bitter, the tannins are too heavy. Now, if it's kind of an expensive wine meant to age a long time, yes, they want the tannins to be overwhelming because the tannins are what allow a wine to age. If the wine's too fruity, it's a boring. Like you believe me, you've tasted some cabs, usually on the cheaper realm, that you need some tannins, you need some of that bitterness in it to work it out. Otherwise, get a Syrah, a cheaper Shiraz or something like that, or a Malbec even. But the Cabernet buyer wants a well-made, balanced wine, but with a little bit of a bite. This doesn't have a lot, but boy, it tastes like Cab. Like there's no mistaking it. So you've had the two, Pinot Noir, Cabernet. Can you see where the Pinot Noir lover might not like the Cabernet? It's harder the other way though, isn't it? I mean, the Cabernet lover
Who's gonna like it?
is probably going to like the Pinot Noir. It might not be their perfect thing, but if say their wife or their companion or whoever's with them is kind of normally drinks whites and will drink Pinot Noir, it's easy to go down on. That's sort of the main thing I wanted you guys to get is that it's that kind of end of the spectrum. So if this ever changed to another brand, you would still be here. If this Pinot Noir ever changed to another brand, you would still be here. You wouldn't ever have, for the most part, the Pinot Noir being bigger than the Cabernet. You will have them both in there. Now, let's talk about the middle. In white wine, it's pretty easy. You've got Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc, or Chardonnay. It's pretty much always that way. Red wine's a little more difficult because you pretty much always have Pinot Noir and Cabernet. But now we've got the middle. We've got, what do we have? Malbec, Zinfandel, Shiraz, Merlot. By the way, Shiraz, Syrah, it's the same grape. They're in the middle. That gets a little more jumbled because you could have each one of those wines as being really big or really light. It's just very difficult, and what we have to do, we just can't taste 15 wines in one tasting. because we could go over, what I always suggest is that whenever you can, before shifts, after shifts, whatever, just pop a bottle open, talk about it for 10 minutes. I mean, we'll replace it. But that way you kind of gradually learn everything as you go. Like for instance, the Malbec on your list is really kind of ridiculously good for the price, the Fabre Montmayo. So that's something you got to learn a little bit more in the middle. Those are the main grapes, the one I just mentioned that you like. Let me talk a little bit about why I pulled these wines. You basically sort of have de facto house wines. You don't have a house wine. I like that. I don't love lists, especially at nice restaurants that say house wine. You don't do that, do you? Okay. I don't want to go into this thing and then find out you did. I don't like that. I think you sell yourself short, and you kind of dumb yourself down if you just have house wine. Have an aggressive by the glass program. If the house wine wants to be that first inexpensive one, so be it. That's what everybody thinks. But you don't need to sell that a whole lot. You need to sell wine. But tonight we poured your better Chardonnay by the glass. We poured your better Cabernet by the glass. I'm not sure all your Pinots by the glass, but I can't imagine you have too many higher than that by the glass. The reason being, these are the wines. These are your wines your people are going to be happy with. They're going to be happy with the other ones, but you've ever heard the term upsell? I hope you're doing it with liquor. You should be doing it with wine. Now, if you have to twist somebody's arm just to get a glass of wine, all right, if they're fine with the cheaper one, that's fine. But you've tasted these wines, and one day, maybe next time I come in, we'll taste all the glass pours together so you can see how it jumps up in quality. And then that's my two biggest trainings I do when I do kind of beginner trainings is one, get you to understand the grapes and why they are what they are and how they compare and contrast. And the next one I do is all your up pours. So I take kind of your least expensive one and then one of your more expensive ones and have you try each one of them to see why. Now I'm seeing why you would pick Chardonnay over Pinot Grigio. The next training is why would you pick the more expensive Chardonnay over the less expensive Chardonnay? And again, I could tell you for 2 hours about it, or you can try it. And you go, oh my gosh. Now again, you may not like it as much or more, but what I want you to recognize is the flavor difference. Can you notice a big enough difference where there's a reason somebody would appreciate spending maybe $3 to $4 more? Myself, that's what I do when I go to a restaurant. I don't usually buy the house wine or the $7 or $8 pour. I'll get the $10 or $12 pour because for just a few more bucks, I'm getting a way better wine. This Cabernet, by the way, guys, if you don't sell a ton of this, you're crazy. That is such a good pour. I'm sorry, both the Lincourt and the Cabernet are two of the best wines to be poured that I've seen. And it's not discounting the Fabre Cab and Malbec are really fantastic for what they are. But for a few dollars more, you can get these kind of wines. This is unreal. If you buy this anywhere, like this wine's going to be $30. Like, it's not in retail, but if you bought it in a wine shop or online or something like this, it would be like $30. You're getting it for, what is it, 14 or less? On the water.
I don't think we're even charging for it.
Okay.
No, we don't have a kind of glass.
We don't have, Catherine?
Not the Catherine, I don't think we do.
Catherine's by the glass.
Yeah.
12. 12.
12.
Okay.
Okay, so-
All right. That's even more ridiculous.
Hillary, we have Hillary.
No, all right, guys. The Hillary runs out all the time. The winery just doesn't make a lot of it. We're getting. Yeah, Hillary's Napa. This is Sonoma. This is Alexander Valley in Sonoma. So it's a little different. It's a little different that one. The Napa one just has a tough time staying in stock, and it's very difficult. I got to tell John a few weeks ago. It's difficult keeping something on your list if the winery is only going to ship us 56 cases at one time, and we're not going to get any more for 6 months. It's something you can hold and just have, but I don't feel right telling people to put it on there and then saying I don't have it. This one, however, we do have some of, and it is an incredible, incredible value. A word on pronunciation, because it's funny, after a few years of doing this, I learned that one of the most intimidating things, nobody would tell me this, was that they didn't want to talk about it because they were afraid how to say something. And it makes sense, because if you go to the table and you're all, kind of cocky and you're ready to do it, and then you explain about how this Merlot is your favorite, you kind of lose them. Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon.
Pinot Grigio.
Yeah, Pinot Grigio. Yeah, so if anything, learn the pronunciation. Now, you don't have to say it like an Italian or a French, because every time I'm with somebody from one of those countries, they put me to shame. Because these are French, basically, names. However, does everybody feel relatively comfortable with the basic grapes? Pinot Grigio, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot. You can say Pinot Noir or Pinot Noir. Either one's acceptable. Merlot, Zinfandel, Malbec, Shiraz, Syrah. Any other I'm missing? Sangiovese. You can say
Claret.
Sangiovese or Sangiovese. What?
Claret.
Claret. Which is, Claret's an old school term for a Bordeaux blend. Actually, it was the English term for Bordeaux, actually, at the time. So let me do, can I sit down for a second? Sometimes what I find helpful, and you can tell me, would it be helpful, does anybody have any questions about pronunciations on the list? Would it be helpful for me to go down your list and pronounce everything? Or do you feel that you got it all?
There's no way I got it all off your own hands.
Well, I'll go through it really quick, because sometimes all you do is hear something once and you got it, but I don't want people to be shy about being at a table and not talking about something because you frankly don't know how to say it. All right, Louis Pedrier, or Pedrier, you can say it either way. Brut, that's brut, it's not brut. Although, you're with some Frenchmen, they'll say brut.
Really?
Yeah, I've learned in the business long enough that if you're with the people from the winery, even within the winery, two different people say it two different ways. It's the craziest thing. So I've heard about it a lot, but you know what? Brut is what people understand, and is what most of them know. So Louis Pedrier, Brut. That's Loire Valley, France. And then,
Which, by the way, is a fabulous champagne for the price. It's
oh my gosh, for that price?
Yeah.
It's really, what's that for a second? It's really quite interesting. And honestly, champagne, oh, I'm sorry,
No,
I
go
messed it up. Champagne, really some of the best sparkling wine in the world. It's just pricey. So a lot of restaurants will try to find some sparkling wine that's a heck of a lot better value. And this one really is. You know, this area sometimes doesn't sell a lot of sparkling wine. However, if you even get the hint at a table of celebrating anything, recommend that. $9 a glass, $32 a bottle, that's a steal. And if somebody's celebrating, you recommend it, they're not gonna turn you down. Who's gonna turn down? They already said they're celebrating. And then Prosecco from Veneto, Italy. Prosecco is one of the hottest wines in the market. I call it party in the bottle. It's just basically just sparkling wine from Italy, from the north east of Italy. Yeah, just think Venice. You're kind of up near there. Very easy drinking. The Louis Pedrier will be a little drier than the Prosecco. All right, Chardonnay. Domaine de Bernier. Val de Loire, France. Hesse, that's pretty easy, Napa Sonoma. Franciscan, Napa. And then Saintsbury. Carneros. Carneros is just, I like going over these lists because I can kind of tell you what little terms mean. Carneros is a region at the southern part of Napa. It actually connects Napa and Sonoma, but it's a little strip of land in the southern part, and it's where arguably the best Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs and sparkling wines in Napa and Sonoma are from, because it's about the coolest region, and the coolest regions produce the best Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And does anybody know what grapes basically go into most sparkling wines? I just gave you the answer. Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. So you're going to find that they all kind of come from the same region. All right, Pinot Grigio. Now listen, if you do speak Italian well, you can like roll your R's and all that stuff with, you know, Pinot Grigio or Grigio. You can't do it. All those years of Spanish down the drain. But Pinot Grigio. Simply Naked, Campo, California. By the way, Simply Naked is just one of those fun names. It really, other than being a cool marketing term, it means that the wines are basically just made with the grapes. There's no oak, there's no crazy winemaking techniques involved. Simply Naked means they basically strip down the winemaking technique into the simplest possible way. And it's a cool marketing.
Stainless steel barrels, is that all?
Well, yeah, stainless steel, yeah. Even, and it's all called Simply Naked. So even the reds, all stainless steel. The entire thing is stripped down so you just taste the grape. Simply Naked Campo, Il Donato, I'm guessing that is, Veneto, Italy, and then Tomasi, San Pietro in Cariano, did a little more. So Simply Naked, by the way, will be, is I hate to use the term sweet because it's still dry, but it's going to be a touch sweeter style than the other ones, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't had the other ones, but most Italian Pinot Grigios will be a little drier than the California. California wines, for the most part, are always a little more fruit forward than their counterparts in Europe. Sauvignon Blanc. Chasing Venus, Marlborough, New Zealand. That's what gives you that unbelievable grapefruity flavor, is the New Zealand. And then J. Lohr Flume Crossing. That is Paso Robles. You can say Paso Robles too. California. And then Riesling, J. Lohr again, Bay Mist. Now this Riesling isn't too sweet. So a lot of people who think Riesling is really sweet. This isn't bone dry, but it's not as sweet as you may think. Okay, so that's something important to know.
It's like an off dry, like
Yeah, like sort of,
Oregon,
it's closer to dry, actually. It's closer to dry. But Riesling has such a wonderful fruitiness to it. People, you will detect some residual sugar, but certainly not like a Moscato or a White Zinfandel or like a lot of Rieslings you may have. That's why I imagine they put it on here. Rieslings to the closer to the drier style, I think, are just so much more expressive and interesting than just the candy sweet ones. White blends, Kumbaya. White, Chardonnay, Muscat, and Sauvignon Blanc. That is really cool. By the way, they make a red. Oh, okay.
Not the red.
No, you're right too.
We have the
These are some of the easiest selling wines. Look, they're not for the wine snobs out there. Hence the name. Flavor profile is a little more on the, again, fruitier side. But they are for the people that love the red blends and the white blends of the world. They wanted a specific style. They don't want a red or white blend as Bordeaux style, bone dry. They want a lot of fruitiness in it. Vino Verde. Vino Verde is one of the funnest wines out there. It's one of the lightest. It's lower in alcohol. Very easy to drink. It's almost like drinking juice.
little sparkle.
And with a touch of frizzante in there. Wonderful on a really hot day. That's Casal Garcia, Aveleda, Portugal. All right, Rosé.
Riesling. It has mist in it. Does it have a little bit of a bubble to it or no? Okay.
Bay Mist, if you go to J. Lohr, they're kind of right near the water. So they do a lot of terms like that. All right, Rosé, White Zinfandel, Great Wolf Lodge. White Zinfandel. I didn't go further. By the way, White Zinfandel is from a red grape. It's a Zinfandel, red grape. You squeeze it, the juice is clear. The color comes from the skins of the grape. Little trick when White Zin was really, really popular, to have somebody guess the most widely planted grape in California. Nobody would guess Zinfandel because they didn't know that White Zin was made from red. It's no longer the case. Rosé. Now, term rosé usually you say that instead of White Zinfandel because it will kind of taste something drier. Dry rosés are hot right now. They are popular. You want to give somebody something they're going to love in the summertime. Very refreshing, but sort of bigger flavor. Rosés are wonderful. South of Europe, they're drinking all over the place. Even you go to a lot of wine bars, they're drinking a ton of rosés. The dry rosés, not the sweet stuff. So this is the rosé of Syrah, Montes Cherub Rosé. It's out of Caquaga Valley, Chile. That is a really good rosé. That's a kind of rich. That's almost Pinot Noir body rich. It's a Syrah, but it's almost Pinot Noir body rich, but in a rosé package. And then rosé blend, La Ville Ferme, which I brought if you want to pop it up later. But that is Cinsault, Grenache, and Syrah. That is from France, very dry pink wine. It's wonderful, wonderful wine. For that price, ridiculous. I'd be selling a ton of that out there on that patio. All right, Cabernet Sauvignon, Shannon Ridge out of Lake County, California. Fabre Montmayu Reserva out of Mendoza, Argentina. Argentina makes more than just Malbec. They make a lot of other wines, and they make really nice Cabernets. Catherine Goldschmidt, which is the one you had, which for $12, honestly speaking, $7, $9, and $12, if you could sell anybody up to that $12 one, not for the money, for the dining experience. I mean, the money's good, but for the dining experience, that wine will knock their socks off compared to the other two, and the other two are good. But just for a few extra dollars, that experience will be so much better. Then Melka CJ, Philippe Melka, one of the top winemakers in the world. If you have somebody wanting to spend some money, Cabernet is where you can get the money. It is the one grape you can get the money, that and maybe Champagne. And Philippe Melka, this is his baby. This is a special, special wine. You don't see it too often because we just don't get much of it. Somebody wants something special and wants to spend money for it, that's definitely something. All right, Pinot Noir. Cycles Gladiator, Nevada, California. Lincourt, Santa Rita Hills, California. The Lincourt is the one you had. Can you see anybody not really liking that wine if they like wine? That Lincourt Pinot? That to me, that's such an easy sell. Malbec. MDC, is that just MDZ? Is that okay? MDZ, Mendoza, Argentina. Malbec is where, Argentina is where everybody really thinks of Malbec. Fabre Montmayu, Grand Reserva, same as the Cab. Mendoza. All right, Merlot. Michael Sahlberg, I guess. Healdsburg, California. Healdsburg is in Sonoma. Red Zinfandel. It's a shame sometimes you have to put red in front of it, but you do because some people won't drink it because they think it's good white stuff. Three Ball, Paso, Sonoma, Amador. So that must mean it's just malty appellation. And then Poison. Yes, that's a play on words. Poison on Dry Creek Valley, California. Dry Creek Valley is a really cool region within Sonoma. And then red blends. Red blends are hot right now. Kumbaya Red. That is the red blend that is selling crazy right now. Slightly sweet, more fruity, very easy drinking, not too heavy, not too tannic, just like liquid velvet in a glass.
Doesn't need food.
Exactly.
Good,
It's
good
porch
old-
wine. That's actually porch wine. It's a perfect thing. Now Banfi Cul de Sasso, Toscana. I love Banfi. This is a cool wine, especially for the price. This is your pizza red. Cabernet Sangiovese. Sangiovese is the grape that everybody kind of is familiar with Italy. It's the main grape in Chianti. Although this doesn't taste like Chianti, you got a little Cabernet, so it's a little New World, meets Old World in there. And for that price, it is your house wine. It is your pizza red.
Banfi is one of the premier, or if not the premier winemaker in Italy. So, yeah.
Banfi is, I've been there. Beautiful castle on a hill. One of the absolute, that's what the Brunello was.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
but
you make
even just to be able to taste something of a Banfi wine at this price is
Yeah, you guys,
miraculous.
that's a steal. That's another one to kind of taste. I have a bottle, I'll just leave it. And kind of have it as one of your little favorites. If somebody doesn't want to spend a lot of money, if they want something a little different, that's one I put. Because it's not too fruity. Some of these other wines in that price point will be overly fruity, which is great. That's what you want. This has a little more old world, kind of rustic quality to it, and that's perfect, especially with food. It goes a lot better with food than Kumbaya, or even the next one, the Divining Rod. The Divining Rod, it's Zinfandel, Petit Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Petit Verdot. That is a red blend along the realm of Kumbaya in terms of fruitiness, but bigger and bolder. Okay, it's much bigger wine than Kumbaya is. Way more interesting. And then this one, Rubus, right? Proprietary Reserve. Am I saying that right? All right. So Ruby Red Durif. Oh, okay, you put it. Okay, I was going to say it. Wow. Durif is the original name of Petit Syrah. Everybody thinks Petit Syrah is just a tiny little Syrah grape. It's not. It's actually a different grape, originally called Durif. And then, all right, no Shiraz yet. Claret, or Claret, which is basically a Bordeaux style blend wine. This is from California by a winery called Stelzner. Now Stelzner put Claret from California on the map. That is kind of their flagship wine. You have like the flagship Claret of California. Just Cabernet blend. But that is a cool one to have on your list because it was sort of one of the originals. I love Amarone Light, that's cool. Amicone, Amarone Light. Amarone is one of the greatest wines in the world. It is a wine, everybody ever heard of Valpolicella? It's basically a wine that would normally be made of Valpolicella, but better grapes and dry. So think about making a wine from raisins. Think about what that must taste like. Think about what you'd have to pay for it. That's Amarone. It's beautiful, beautiful, rich, full body. Still some rustic qualities in there. Wine. So when you find something that's Amarone Light, you kind of hope to get the best of both worlds. You get the drinkability of the Valpolicella, but you get a little bit of the mouthfeel of the Amarone, which is exquisite for a price that is not even close to that. Then of course you have Amarone. So you have Cantina di Ora, Amarone is Accordini le Basole, and then Primitivo, which is indeed one setting. It's hard to do this without just going crazy, so I appreciate your patience. I hope you learned something from it. Remember, you don't need to know the book. You just need to know enough to talk to that table confidently for that short period of time and to make more money. Make them more money, make yourselves more money. Make the customers happy. That's really the name of the game.
For your notes, we sell a lot of barbecue, and the 3-ball, the Red Zinfandel is perfect with the barbecue. If you're gonna